Welcome back to The Wise Cut. Have you ever looked at your bank account, looked at the goal of becoming a millionaire and thought, there's just no way? Well, today, we're going to break down some seriously surprising math that shows why that goal is a whole lot closer than you think. Let's dive in. So what if I told you that getting your first $100,000 in the bank doesn't put you 10% of the way to $1 million, but actually a full 1/3 of the way there? I know, it sounds completely backward, right? It sounds crazy. But stick with me here because the numbers don't lie. And this brings us to what I like to call the $1 million paradox. See, our brains are hardwired to think in straight, predictable lines. But wealth, real wealth, it just doesn't grow that way. And this one little misunderstanding is the reason so many people tap out right before the real magic is about to begin. This slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got that linear thinking. You save a buck, you're a buck richer. Simple, but man, is it a slow, painful grind. But on the right, that's the reality of investing. It's exponential. Every single dollar you put to work becomes like a tiny employee working for you 24/7. And then the money they earn starts working, and it creates this incredible financial snowball that just gets bigger and faster over time. And this really gets to the heart of it. The real challenge isn't being some kind of math whiz. It's a psychological battle. It's you versus a world that is practically screaming at you to buy everything right this second. The real test is your discipline. And that battle is never, ever harder than during that first big leg of the journey, getting to your first $100,000. This is the part that feels like you're pushing a giant boulder straight uphill. And honestly, this is where most people get tired, they get discouraged, and they walk away. So how do you actually conquer this beast? Well, it's simpler than you might think, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Let's just say you invest $100 a week, every single week. At a pretty conservative 8% average return, you're gonna cross that $100,000 finish line in about 12 years. Yeah, 12 years sounds like a long time, but let's be real. That time is gonna pass anyway, whether you're building wealth or not. And during those first 12 years, you're the one doing most of the heavy lifting. I mean, look at this. Out of that first $100,000, about $62,000 of it came straight out of your pocket. The growth from your investments only kicked in about $38,000. It's a decent start, for sure, but it doesn't quite feel life-changing yet. This is the grind. And hey, if you feel like it's a grind, you're in some seriously good company. The legendary investor Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's partner, famously said, "The first $100,000 is a bitch. It's supposed to be tough. This phase is designed to test you. But what happens next is exactly why you need to stick it out. Because once you finally push that boulder to the very top of the hill, something incredible starts to happen. Welcome, my friends, to the Great Acceleration. This is the part where that little snowball of yours starts rolling downhill, picking up speed and size all by itself. I want you to let this one sink in for a second. It took you 12 long, grinding years to save up your first $100,000. But to get your second $100,000, that only takes another 6 years. The time it takes you to hit that milestone literally gets cut in half. This is compound interest starting to flex its muscles. Okay, let's map this out so you can really see it. Year 12, boom, you hit 100K. By year 18, you're already at 200K. Now, even though you only have 20% of the cash, in terms of time, you are now officially halfway to your million. You just keep doing what you're doing, and you hit that 7-figure mark around year 36. And here is the absolute best part. When you finally hit that $1 million mark, how much of it did you actually have to save? Well, over those 36 years, you put in about $187,000. The other $813,000, that was pure, unadulterated growth. Your money did all the hard work for you. That's right. Over 80% of your $1 million wasn't built from your paycheck. It was built by the relentless, unstoppable power of compound growth. You just had to put in the first 20%, and the market handled the rest. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. I can hear that little voice of doubt in your head screaming, but what if? So let's just go ahead and tackle those doubts head on, because these doubts are what separate the people who actually build wealth from those who just, well, make excuses. The biggest fear, the one I hear all the time, is market crashes, right? What happens when you look at your account and the balance suddenly takes a nosedive? Here's the secret. For someone who is investing consistently over the long term, a market crash is your best friend. Seriously. When prices fall, that weekly $100 contribution suddenly buys you way more shares. It's like your favorite store is having a 40% off sale on everything. You just keep buying, and when the market recovers, which historically it always does, you end up owning so much more. It's a secret weapon. Okay, doubt number 2. Won't inflation just eat away all those returns? I mean, $1 million in 30 years isn't going to be worth what it is today. That is a totally fair point. But guess what? We've already accounted for it. That 8% return we've been using in all these examples, that's a conservative number after you factor in inflation. The stock market's real historical average is actually closer to 10%, so we've already built in a safety cushion. And of course, the most common objection of all. This sounds great, but I just don't have an extra $100 a week lying around. I hear ya, but let's take a closer look and see if that's really true. The thing is, most of us have way more wiggle room in our budgets than we realize. The average person spends over $600 a month on food. If you just trimmed that by 25% by cooking at home a bit more, boom, there's $150. The average new car payment is over $700. Imagine driving a reliable used car instead. You could easily free up hundreds more. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about making conscious choices. Because, when it's all said and done, getting to that first $100,000, it's not really about the money. The real prize is the person you have to become to get there. That first $100K, it proves to yourself that you can delay gratification. It forges the patience you need to ride out market storms without panicking. It completely changes your relationship with money and gives you this rock-solid confidence that your biggest goals are actually possible. You're not just building a foundation of money, you're building a foundation of character. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Your journey to $1 million doesn't start with $100,000. It starts with the very next dollar you decide to invest instead of spend. The only real question is, where do you want that dollar to be in 30 years? If this explainer changed the way you think about building wealth, do us a huge favor. Hit that like button, share it with someone who really needs to hear this, and of course, subscribe to The Wise Cut for more explainers just like this one. Let us know your biggest takeaway in the comments below. Thanks for watching.